All right, here we go. Welcome into Philadelphia Eagles Now by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr. Appreciate all of you for watching today's show. It's really been a busy offseason for the Birds following that run to the Super Bowl. I understand. We're never going to get over that loss to the Kansas City Chiefs. Howie Roseman even said this past week, I'll never stop thinking about it. But we have to think about 2023, right? We have to think about what the Eagles have accomplished in free agency and Howie Roseman crushing the draft. So with that, let's open up the floor, take some questions from some of our loyal subscribers. Bird Gang, what do you got for me? Kevon McFlurry, hopefully I said that right. Your projected record for the Eagles this year, and who do you think is the biggest threat to the Eagles in the NFC? Good question here as we start to look ahead to the 2023 campaign. We don't know what the exact Eagles schedule is going to be. We do, though, know what the opponents are going to be. Home games for Philly, there are 8 of them. New York Giants, Washington Commanders, Dallas Cowboys. No surprise there. Those are the divisional opponents. Outside of the divisional opponents, you have the Buffalo Bills coming to the link, the San Francisco 49ers returning to South Philadelphia, Minnesota Vikings, Arizona Cardinals, and Miami Dolphins. You look at that home slate. You should be able to sweep the New York Giants once again, but it's a divisional game, so obviously it's always going to be difficult to do that. The Eagles split with Washington last year after the Commanders handed Philadelphia their first loss of the year. Dallas Cowboys going to be a pretty solid team. I'm interested to see how good offensively they will be without offensive coordinator Kellen Moore, because now it's going to be Mike McCarthy calling the plays. Buffalo Bills going to pose a very difficult test. Honestly, one of the games I'm looking forward to the most is a repeat of the NFC Championship game against the San Francisco 49ers. Over the span of the last couple of months, this has become one of the more hostile rivalries in the National Football League. I think that the Eagles actually win that game because I think the Eagles have either stayed the same or gotten better this offseason, whereas the Niners have gotten worse. You like the Eagles beating the Vikings once again. Cardinals are going to be dog. Tua Tagovailoa, he's kind of a fraud. And then the away schedule. Of course, the divisional opponents once again. Baker Mayfield's going to be starting for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Kansas City Chiefs you have to go to Arrowhead. Going to be a difficult game, but hopefully Philadelphia can exact that revenge against the defending Super Bowl champions. New York Jets now have Aaron Rodgers, so you head up I-95 to take on them. New England Patriots, Los Angeles Rams, and the Seattle Seahawks. Now, when you make it to the Super Bowl, your schedule and your list of opponents is going to get a lot more difficult the following season. So I don't know if the Eagles are going to have the record that they had last year when they had an NFL best 14 wins, right? But I think they're going to be in that 11, 12, 13 win range. Offensively, you only lose Isaac Seumalo and Miles Sanders. And then defensively, you're still about 8 to 10 deep on that defensive line. You bring back Darius Slay, James Bradbury, safety linebacker, some question marks there. You need the health gods to be on your side. But let me say between 11 and 13 wins for Philadelphia, biggest threat in the NFC, couple of teams here. San Francisco 49ers, still going to be players. Dallas Cowboys. Honestly, I think the Detroit Lions. I think those are the 3 teams right there that will be factors in the NFC. Teams making improvements. New Orleans Saints with Derek Carr. Carolina Panthers with Bryce Young. Now, looking ahead to the 2023 season, I can't wait for it. We're going to be doing watch parties once again. Hosted by your boy here and Trizzy Trace, the 1-2 punch. It's going to be epic. So make sure you subscribe looking ahead to that, but also subscribe for daily and year-round content on all things pertaining to the Philadelphia Eagles. Epic Jake with this one. Should the Eagles re-sign Ndamukong Suh for even more depth on their scary defensive line? I don't think that you need to sign Ndamukong Suh. Why is that? Because you fortify the interior of the defensive line with some young guns. Jalen Carter is now a backup defensive tackle. Milton Williams is ready to take that next step. I think the Eagles are about 8 to 10 deep, as I just said, along that defensive line, right? Because you have Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox, Jordan Davis, Josh Sweat, and Hassan Reddick as your starting defensive line. I understand Reddick is that Sam linebacker. Then your backups are still really good. Derek Barnett, Nolan Smith, Jalen Carter. Like, that's a really good starting defensive line and backup defensive line. I don't think you need Suh. Maybe during the year if you need some depth pieces following some injuries. What do you think, though, Bird Gang? Let us know down in the comment section. Bring back Suh. R for return. W for, let him walk. He's washed. He's old. Actually thought he played solid football down the stretch and actually did improve that porous Eagles run defense. This next question coming in from D. What's up, D? Should the Eagles trade for Isaiah Simmons and use him in the Micah Parsons role or as a hybrid defender, Swiss Army knife type of player? Isaiah Simmons is a very fascinating player. He's a very, very good athlete, and he's a guy who may have never lived up to being that high first-round pick out of Clemson, but I'm not sure he was ever utilized by Arizona like maybe the Eagles have done with Hassan Reddick, or like you said, what the Cowboys have done with Micah Parsons. This in as of Thursday that the Cowboys are actually asking Micah Parsons to bulk up. They're going to use him primarily as a defensive end. I think Isaiah Simmons has that in him. A little bit undersized at 238. That's about the same size as a Nolan Smith. Hassan Reddick is about 242 pounds. But when I talked about Isaiah Simmons earlier this week, I'm like, look, Arizona tried to use him as a linebacker and just an athlete who you can line up a couple of spots around the field. I would just strictly have him get after the quarterback like the Eagles did with Reddick. Arizona, the same dog shit organization that tampered to hire Jonathan Gannon, and they didn't use Hassan Reddick coming out of Temple University for those first couple of years. Isaiah Simmons, there's a better football player in there. I just think it comes down to the usage. You talk about Micah Parsons, though. How about this? Micah Parsons clearly wants to be a Philadelphia Eagle. He was beside himself when the Eagles drafted Jalen Carter. He's like, how the hell did the Eagles get Jalen Carter? And how did other teams let Jalen Carter fall to the Eagles? This guy's a great player. Micah Parsons seems to be very jealous of the Philadelphia Eagles. So how about he just forces a trade from the Dallas Cowboys? He doesn't want to be with an organization that over the last several years actually has less playoff wins than the Houston Texans. Micah Parsons, you're from Pennsylvania. You're from the Harrisburg area. Come back to your home state, to Philadelphia. Team up with the Birds. I'm calling it right now. Just make it happen. Steezy J, tongue-in-cheek, of course. Last question here. Do you think the Eagles will sign a linebacker? If so, who? Look, a couple of good ones could potentially be available via trade. As for signings, there's like a Miles Jack out there. He had 100 tackles last year. But look, if you're trying to make a trade, and you can make a trade for the aforementioned Isaiah Simmons, or a more prototypical linebacker who's entering the final year of his rookie contract because the Baltimore Ravens did not exercise his fifth-year option, that's Patrick Queen. I mean, Patrick Queen has never missed a game in his NFL career. He played every single snap last year for a really good Baltimore team. He's a 100 tackle per season type of guy, pretty solid in coverage. Maybe you want to make a trade for Devin White. He's a little bit more expensive, but a couple of players there that the Eagles could trade for free agency-wise. That grouping is a little bit thin. What do you think? Show up that football intellect with us here. Should the Eagles add a linebacker? Y for yes, N for no. Share your thoughts. Treat that comment section like a Sports Talk Radio call-in line. We appreciate y'all for watching the show, and we'll catch you next time here on Eagles Now.